Hey guys, come on downstairs. Introducing a new series to y'all today. Playing a little flight simulator on the Xbox Series S. And we are on the runway in West Yellowstone, Montana. And we're going to get this bird up in the air here, and then I'll explain to you what I'm doing with this series and why I'm doing it. Alright, I don't know why I chose West Yellowstone to start. I guess it's just where my family usually enters Yellowstone National Park from, and it's a good entrance into the state of Wyoming. We'll get a look at West Yellowstone here coming up in a second. It's just a little cozy town tucked in the trees. West Yellowstone, it's an interesting little town. For a tourist town, the restaurants are terrible. Nowhere to eat in West Yellowstone. Just go to Dairy Queen or something. That's probably the best you're going to get. The Gusher's not bad, but other than that, I mean, there's just, for a tourist town, you'd think they'd capitalize on restaurants a little bit more. Because, I mean, they have snowmobilers come in the winter. All that kind of stuff. So, you'll see West Yellowstone right here. Off to our right, there's West. Like I said, it's a tiny little town full of hotels and a couple of really bad restaurants. So we're going to enter Yellowstone National Park here, follow the Madison River into the Yellowstone. So let me explain this series. I'm a sports gaming YouTuber. Done a lot of sports games. Lately, I've just been playing non-sports games. I got a little bit burned out of sports, so I focused on, I don't know, just trying to recharge in that area. This one's going to be kind of, I don't know, I guess you could call it a mix. It's going to have a little geography, a little history, a little flight sim, and a little sports in it. But what I'm doing is I'm going to go state by state, and we're going to visit all of the major sports venues in through Flight Simulator. So I made this first episode thinking I'd give you guys a taste of what this series was going to be like, and then as I got into this, making this episode, I was like, you know what, this is probably not going to be like a lot of other episodes in this series. It's going to kind of be I mean, we're in Wyoming, right? Name all the sports teams from Wyoming. Yeah, I think there's one. University of Wyoming. So, our next episode will be Colorado. So we're going to go from, one extreme to the next, because Colorado has a whole bunch of sports teams. So this one, we're going to start off with a little tour of some geography in Wyoming as we make our way towards Laramie to get a look at sports venues for the University of Wyoming. Alright, we've moved ahead a little bit here. We are deeper into Yellowstone National Park. We are flying over Yellowstone Lake right here and heading towards the south arms of the lake. And off to our right would be West Thumb. Yellowstone Lake. It is a very cold lake. Not a lot of boating done because of the cold, but there's a little bit. I mean, I've seen people bring their boats into the park. destined for Yellowstone Lake, but not a lot. And definitely nobody's in the water. Basically some sightseeing. So this area down in the south arms of Yellowstone Lake, I don't believe there's any way you can reach those areas by car. It's going to either be boat or hiking trails. So pretty isolated country down in this end as we head south. So this little journey, we're going to go south down through Yellowstone. We might veer over by the Tetons and get a closer look. Oh, there they are off in the distance. You can see them. The Tetons are clear over there. But I think we're going to go over and take a look, just because we have not a huge variety of sports venues to check out in Wyoming. We'll check out some of the geography. There's going to be some states that we really won't do any geography in. We'll just hit the cities we want to hit and check out these sports venues. See, I don't know. I've always been interested in, where schools are located college-wise, and just knowing my way around towns, knowing where things are at. I don't know. I guess I'm just weird that way. But, I mean, you can name any of the 300 Division I basketball teams, and I could tell you what city they're in pretty much. I don't know why. It's kind of useless information, but for whatever reason, I'm interested in that kind of stuff. I don't know. So we are over the southwest arm of Yellowstone Lake, and we're going to start moving over towards the Tetons. We'll skip ahead here in a second and get a little bit closer. But I could probably do an entire episode just in Yellowstone National Park itself, because we're missing, we're just flying in a straight line basically over the top of it, so we're missing a whole bunch of stuff. We could go check out Mammoth, we could go check out Old Faithful, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, Upper and Lower Falls, Lamar Valley. We could spend a lot of time in Yellowstone National Park, but we're not going to. That's not the point of this series. The main point of this series is to go from town to town and check out sports venues. And that's why this episode is going to be a little bit different than what most of the other episodes will be like. So growing up in Utah, Yellowstone was a short getaway, 4-hour drive from where I grew up in Utah to Yellowstone. And so came here often with my family, basically every summer, at least once, sometimes more than once. So I have a lot of memories from Yellowstone National Park. And for the most part, we would stay in West Yellowstone. Remember one trip, my grandparents actually took me and 5 or 6 of my cousins to Yellowstone when I was probably about 10, maybe 9 or 10. For a couple of years there, they took us on a yearly trip to Yellowstone. As you can see, we've moved ahead. Here we have reached the Tetons. I believe that we are just passing Mount Moran. And we just went over the top of Jackson Lake. We don't have a really good view of it. It's Jenny Lake is just ahead of us right there. There's Mount Moran and Jackson Lake in the background. And there is the Grand Teton, highest point. So anyway, back to the story of my grandparents taking us into Yellowstone. We were staying in tents, and my cousin noticed that my grandpa had left a box of cookies up on top of the van. He thought that it was an accident. So, middle of the night, my cousin Scott is like, I got the munchies. I'm going to go grab those cookies off the top of the van. So he does. He goes out, grabs the cookies, brings them to the tent. We're all eating cookies. And apparently, my grandpa had to take some meds before he went to sleep. So he had to take them with food. And he didn't want to get into the cookies and make a bunch of noise and wake my grandma up. But I guess he had to take one of his meds in the middle of the night or something, and he had to take him with food. He went out, and the cookies were gone because we had taken them. And that was a miserable night. We slept. We didn't even look to see where we threw our tent down. We just threw it down, and we were sleeping in gopher holes. Like, it was the most uneven. There's a beautiful view right there of Grand Teton. That was a miserable night. Anyway, a lot of fun memories from Yellowstone National Park. Back around Yellowstone Lake, I remember once I ran around the side of the van on one of these trips with my grandparents. Dang near ran into a buffalo that was just laying there. Just came to skidded to a stop. And I don't know. I was scared. The buffalo just kind of looked at me like, yeah, one of you stupid people. Alright, so Jackson Hole is off to the right, just below the tip of our right wing there. We probably won't, we're not going to go over and see Jackson. We've got to make our way to Laramie, check out War Memorial Stadium, and what's their basketball name? Arena Auditorium or something like that is the name of their basketball venue. I'm not always going to do the college basketball venues, but I will. I mean, in states that have a whole bunch of venues, I'm probably just going to do the college football stadiums. But on a state like Wyoming where there's not a whole bunch, we'll check out their basketball venue as well. All right. So we've moved ahead. We are further to the south and east, and this right here is probably my favorite area of Wyoming. This is the Wind River Range. Doesn't get as much pub as Yellowstone National Park. It's not a national park. Just a national forest, I believe. These are the Green River Lakes at the very northernmost point of the Wind Rivers. And I've taken a couple of trips in to Green River Lakes. Camped right at the base of it. You saw those roads down there. There's a little campground. Have some good memories from there as well. So Green River Lakes, you can see just above the nose of the aircraft is Square Top Mountain, and I wish I had a view from down in the valley because it's pretty cool. Big square plateau looking mountain up there. In the Wind River Range, you've got the highest point in the state of Wyoming at Gannett Peak, and it is going to be off to our left and a little deeper into the Wind Rivers. So I've hiked that meadow right there. It doesn't look big from the air, but it never ends when you're hiking it. It is a long meadow. Gets you clear back into the Wind Rivers. So, I mean, the Wind River is very good sized mountain range. Tons of water. I mean, tons of glacial lakes, runoff lakes, just everywhere. Tons of lakes. Beautiful, beautiful place. Nighttime in the Wind Rivers without any city lights anywhere. The stars are unbelievable. Had one of the worst nights of my life, though, in the Wind Rivers, backpacking with my cousins. We got clear back in, like 15 miles back into the wilderness. No roads, nothing anywhere near us but hiking trails and wilderness. And I ended up getting sick. Came down with a fever. Didn't have any medication whatsoever on me. And I spent like 36 hours straight in bed in my tent. And it was the longest, probably the longest period of my entire life. I didn't have the energy or strength to get up and do anything, but I felt like I was starting to get bed sores laying on the hard ground. Oh, it was so miserable, man. So miserable. Alright, so we won't go all the way to the south end of the winds because we're going to have to head east to get to Laramie. And we're about halfway done with this video, so bear with me if you are just here to see the venues and you don't care about the geography. Stick with us. Most of these videos are going to be about the venues. This one just happens to be Wyoming, where we only have one sports team at the Division I level anyway. I know there's some junior colleges and stuff, Western Wyoming for one, in Rock Springs. So yeah, the Wyoming Cowboys. They have a monopoly on sports in the state of Wyoming. So we look down on the Wind Rivers. So many peaks. And I think, gosh, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one Gannett Peak is, but it's whatever the highest one is in the Wind River Range, that's Gannett Peak. It's also the highest peak in the state of Wyoming. And I know it's off to the left. I know we're flying to the right side of Gannett Peak. I just can't tell you which one it is. Look down on yet another lake down below us. So fairly shortly here we're going to cut over to the left and head east. But once we get out of the Wind Rivers to the east of it, it's nothing but plains. And so enjoy the mountains while you can. And I mean, I'll go a little bit faster over the plains. We'll kind of fast forward to get closer to Laramie. But I just wanted to check out this geography for a while we're up here. So in this series, we'll use different plains. And what I'm trying to do with it, I mean, I want to explore the United States in Flight Simulator. And this gives me a way to do it, right? And to share it with you guys. That could be Gannett Peak right there, maybe. Right there. I don't know. Let's just say it is. That's Gannett Peak. I don't know. So what was I saying? I totally lost my train of thought there. All right. Yeah. Completely lost it. So yeah, we'll fast forward when we get out. I know that maybe this isn't everybody's cup of tea at this point, where we're just looking at mountains and stuff. Cities are pretty cool on Flight Simulator. And that's going to be the biggest portion of this series is going to be cities. I remember what I was talking about before. So what I want to try to do with this is, we started in West Yellowstone. This flight is going to end in Laramie. We'll check out University of Wyoming's sports venues, and then we'll put it down at the Laramie Regional Airport. And so the next episode, where we do Colorado, we're going to pick up and start from the Laramie Airport. And that's what we'll do. Wherever we end the Colorado episode in Colorado Springs. So in episode number 3, we will start from Colorado Springs. And I'm not sure which direction we'll go just yet. We might go south into New Mexico. We might start heading east and get across the plains of Colorado and into like Nebraska or something. Nebraska will be another. I guess we could look at Creighton and Omaha up in that area and Lincoln. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, but wherever we end off one episode is where we're going to pick up the next episode. And maybe by the time we do all 50 states, we will end up landing back in West Yellowstone to come full circle. But I fully intend to do all 50 states, so you're going to get a good look at the entire United States on Flight Simulator. As we've started to head to the east now, stick with me. Very shortly we're going to get to Laramie. But just relax and check out the scenery here. We are still over the Wind Rivers, just off the east edge of the Wind Rivers. You can see up ahead of us and to the right is the south end. and we're not going to get all the way down to the south end because we're going to start cutting over to the left here. So my wife was born in Wyoming. She was mostly raised in Idaho, and then her family moved back to Wyoming after she graduated from high school. And when we were first married, they still lived in Wyoming. Now they live in Utah, her parents do. So the first part of our marriage, we used to head back to Wyoming for Christmases and holidays in Green River. So we're starting to head east now. As you can see, there's not any mountains out this way for a while. So we're going to go over a whole bunch of plains. And for the most part in this series, I'm going to do flights in the summer. I just thought Wyoming, it was, I don't know. I thought snow in Wyoming just sounded like the best way to go. One of the few places that will probably do snow. Maybe we'll do some snow in Minnesota or Wisconsin. Maybe Wisconsin for sure, as we get a look at Lambeau Field. Make it look like the frozen tundra it is. Alright, so we're going to pick up the pace here a little bit. And we're going to go screaming across these plains, the high plains of Wyoming. Like, they look flat, but they are at a very high elevation. In fact, Laramie sits at like 7,200 feet above sea level. Sorry about that. So we're cruising. I mean, Laramie is just about the, I don't know, mid-eastern part of the state, and we were just hovering over the west side, so we've got a little ways to go. So I played around with some camera views and stuff. Alright, we're getting closer here. There is Rawlins, Wyoming. So we're getting closer. Rawlins off to the left. Get another look at it there. So that little mountain up ahead is where we're headed. Laramie is just a little ways on the other side of that mountain. Driving across the state of Wyoming, it's rough, man. Especially in the winter. I've driven across there at times where there's only one lane that's clear. The other lane is just straight ice on the freeway. Pretty crazy. Okay, so we've reached that mountain, and now we are just about to Laramie. As we get into the purpose of this video. University of Wyoming. My school is Utah State. You all know that by now, for the most part. Wyoming is a pretty good rival of ours, but the hate isn't there. You know what I mean? Like, we have rivals like BYU that we hate, but I don't hate Wyoming. I actually really like them, their football team. So, and when I'm not cheering for Utah State, Wyoming would be the next Mountain West team that I would cheer for the most over any other Mountain West team. Interesting note. Alright, we're almost done with this high speed fast forward here. Next time I do it, I will not move the views around so much. I learned my lesson in this episode. We'll try to keep it straight like that as much as we can when we do the fast forward mode. Alright, so we are getting on to the outskirts of Laramie. And we'll move ahead here as we have reached the city of Laramie. And it's, guys, I've never been to Laramie, and I've never seen it on a map or anything like that, but I expected it to be bigger than this. This is not big. This is not a big city at all. So Laramie, Wyoming. Gonna get a good look at War Memorial Stadium. And I will mark it with the Wyoming logo. There you go. Off to the right of that is War Memorial Stadium. And we'll go down and get it. We'll do a couple of passes here, get a good look at it. So this is weird. I don't know if y'all know how Flight Simulator is set up, but they auto-gen, like they took like Bing Maps or Google Maps or some satellite map imagery, and then they were able to auto-generate houses. So they basically looked straight down at rooftops, and so wherever there was a rooftop, it would build a building that shape underneath it, so that would make it 3D. So for whatever reason, and I don't know, maybe there was a concert going on, or there was a tarp over the field or something like that, but for whatever reason, the autogen on Wyoming's football field here thought that something looked like a rooftop, so it built a building on it. Okay, that sucks for Wyoming, because it's the only venue in Wyoming that we're doing. In Colorado, for example, there was a weird building on Colorado State's football field, but the rest of the venues were perfect. So every once in a while, you're going to get some weirdnesses with the autogen, just something that Flight Sim can't control, because for whatever reason, it looked like there was a rooftop on the field. So I don't know if there was a concert stage or a tarp or what. So there's War Memorial Stadium. As we go over it a little bit lower, we'll look down on it. You can see that building looks pretty big, but you can see the end zone there says Wyoming. And we'll make one more pass, I think, and get a little bit closer look. Arena Auditorium, the basketball venue, is right next to it. It's the black circle. Looks like there's a nice little golf course just off to the side of the stadium. Laramie, just not a big city. I expected it to be bigger. I really did. I mean, I thought it was bigger than Logan, where I grew up, and it does not look like it's bigger than Logan to me. Logan looks bigger. Alright, we'll do another pass, and then we'll go sit this plane down. We're not always going to use the same plane either in this episode. We'll switch things up, because there's going to be some where we're ending in Laramie. We're going to start in Laramie. There's going to be some places where we end somewhere, and it's going to be quite a ways to get to where we want to go. So in that instance, we'll probably use a citation or a private jet or something like that to get there a lot faster. We'll see how it goes, but for the most part, when we fly around the venues, it's going to be in these smaller planes so that we can slow down and get a good look at them. Alright, here we go again. Let's take another look at War Memorial Stadium. This time will be a little bit lower, so you can definitely see the Wyoming in the end zone, I think. So we're going to go right over the top of the basketball arena right here. The circle to the right. And there you see Wyoming in the end zone. And then a building. For whatever reason, it built a building on the field. I don't know. But trust me, Colorado is much better. The only one that's messed up like that is Fort Collins and Colorado State. The rest of the venues, you can see the entire field. It looks beautiful. Alright, we're going to land this thing at Laramie regional airport as we speed things up and get to our final approach. And we have almost knocked out our first episode in this series.
Kilo Lima Alpha Romeo traffic Cirrus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is on final runway 12 to land.
So we're coming in a little bit high. We lowered our flaps, which should help push us down a little bit, also control our speed as we try to get ourselves lined up with this runway. So when we land, in this plane we want our speed to be anywhere between 77 and 91 knots. So we cut some engine here. Still coming in just a little bit high. And then we push ourselves down a little bit too much. And we're going to have to start increasing our speed to reach the runway. One of the good things about this series is I'm going to get plenty of landing practice, which I need. And I love that. Because this first landing here, to be honest, this is my very first landing with an Xbox controller. I'm used to using a joystick on PC with earlier versions of Flight Simulator, but we're using the Xbox controller here, so this isn't the best landing in the world, as you will see, but we get it down. Just coming in a little bit hot. Try to keep it on the runway. Alright, so I don't know, I mean, that didn't seem like we hit too hard, but for whatever reason, and I don't know, maybe I don't know why we're smoking like that. Like, I don't know what that's trying to say. If anybody knows, let me know. Like, did we flatten the wheels? Like, what happened there? Or is it just that the runway's cold and the wheels? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Anyway, we're down in Laramie. We got a good look at University of Wyoming sports venues. Up next, we will head from Laramie to Colorado, where we will check out Colorado State, Northern Colorado, Colorado Rapids, Colorado Buffaloes, Nuggets, Avs, Rockies, Broncos, and the Air Force Falcons. All right, that's it for Wyoming. State and sports venue tours on Flight Simulator here on Mama's Basement Sports Gaming.